Hey guys, Fourfinger here, and I wanted to share a couple of build ideas I had in the last few days, and honestly all of those are super interesting. I'm gonna be building around them myself. It's just gonna take some time till I level up the characters and set stuff up, so I'm curious, just let me know which one you like the most, so maybe I can, prioritize that one when making build guides and videos. With that being said, let's jump into the first one that's regarding Irongrasp. So the first build idea is going to be based on projectile attacks, and I'll explain why in a second, but keep in mind you're pretty much limited to bows, crossbows and spears, so even if you got bored of lightning spear, you have alternatives, thank god. With that being said, we are building around Irongrasp. Now this chest on its own wasn't that good in the last patch, even though it had cool synergy with Heroic Tragedy Timeless Jewel, because they had the same downside, while they gave you separate upsides. So pretty much, you gain one downside and two upsides, and even though that was cool, it wasn't justifiable to lose all the defenses and stuff like that on the chest. But now, we got the new unique called Crown of Ice, which has really interesting line, where it says increases and reductions to spell damage also applies to attacks. So hopefully you see where I'm going with this. Because Iron Grip gives you 1% increased projectile attack per 2 strength, and the Iron Will gives you 1% increased spell damage, but now because spell damage applies to the attacks, we are double scaling the projectile attacks, because we get attack damage and projectile attack damage. So effectively, 1 strength becomes 1% increased damage for your skills. And then on top of it, every 2 strength you also get 1% increased energy shield. So if you had like something like 500 strength, which is really easy to reach, you're looking at 500% increased damage and 250% increased energy shield. And this is really cool, and you can probably scale this way further, but the way I would build around this is because you want to have decent enough of the energy shield base to actually scale it with the increases. I would probably get the helmet, boots and gloves to go full energy shield. Even though they can't have strength on top of them, I still think it's better to do it this way and then get strength on everything else. Otherwise, you're not gonna get much defenses from this node if you don't have much of a base to scale, right? So that was my idea when it comes to this build. And when it comes to Ascendancy, I think it's best to go Ritualist for extra ring slot, and then you get 25% increased bonuses from rings and amulets. So this can give you a lot of strength to justify, not using it on main pieces. So that was the first build idea I have. I think it has a lot of potential. It probably has a lot more interactions that I haven't even thought of, but you guys can play around this and let me know what you find out. Maybe we can, cook something together. But with that being said, let's move on to the next idea. So for my second build, I really wanted to play around Shockwave Totem, especially since they buffed it last night. They did reduce the damage, but they increased the attack rate, and I think it's an overall damage increase. But not only because of that, it's a big quality of life, because in the last patch, it took like 3 business days for Totem to attack because it had such a low base. Now it's gonna feel a lot smoother while mapping, so that's great. While I was looking into this, I was like, how can I scale it in some new and different kind of way? And I came to a conclusion of poison and spirit stacking, whichever one you prefer. How does the first one work for the poisons? There is a new unique spear called Splinter of Lorata, and it has this interesting line where it allows you to have infinite amount of poisons on the enemy, but it has really low base damage. So people have been trying to make this spear work with Amazon by getting that accuracy node and then getting the flat from that, also using the flat from rings and how that works. But for totems, we don't care about any of that, because totems use their own weapon, and you scale that base damage with levels. So you don't really care if this has no base to begin with. And the funny part is, this specifies attacks with this weapon, but for some reason it does work on the totems, while this one doesn't. It's kind of weird. You still need to have like 100% chance to poison for this to actually work, because this line won't, but this does work. Don't ask me how I figured this out, I was just bored. And then if you get stuff like Escalating Toxins, you can pretty much double your damage by picking this, because you can easily get like +2 totems on 3 and 1 from the Overabundance, so you can have 4 up at a time. So they're gonna have crazy amounts of poisons, especially if you have Jagged Ground support them, this can be insane. So that's why I was kind of figuring about this stuff, and just to show you that it works in game, I am running Splinter of Lorata. Here's my Shockwave Totem and chance to poison. Like I said, we need chance to poison, so gloves and this, and Jagged Ground. So if I place it next to the boss, as you can see, 5, 6, 7, 8, obviously it's going way over the cap, and I don't have anything on the tree. I don't have +1 poisons here, I don't have +1 here, so I haven't scaled poison stacks. It obviously works with the weapon, and you can get up to crazy amounts once you scale the attack speed on the totems themselves. This is really cool. I think there's a lot of synergy here to be had. With enough increased duration and magnitude of the poison, I think you can do some crazy stuff with this. So yeah, that's the first idea. The second one was spirit stacking, and we are using the same helmet like in the first build, because it makes it so that spell damage applies to attacks, and then we scale spirit and pick the ancestral bond. You can pretty easily reach 600 spirit, and then maybe 700 on top end, because we don't have a free helmet slot. In the last patch I was able to reach 800, in this one it's probably gonna be like 700, maybe 650, let's say it's 6 to be like, you know, conservative. So if you take like 100 spirit to like reserve some of the needed auras, you can still have 5 totems active, and with 600 spirit you're pretty much getting a 60 times, this can be corrupted by the way, up to 15% increased spell damage per 10 spirit. So if you have 600, that's like 60 times 15, which is like 900% increased damage. That's going to be converted to attack, which is kind of insane. And the way you would stack spirit, you have 100 from the campaign, 200 from the scepter, that's 300. You get against the darkness that unique jewel, you get like 40-ish. You get grand spectrums. You have stuff like, I don't know, like Ventor's Gamble, you can corrupt the helmet as well. There's a lot of ways where you can get spirit, and like I said, reaching 600 is 100% doable. So getting 900% increased damage while having 5 totems, I don't know, it just looks really, really strong and cool. So let me know what you guys think, and if you cook some build, hop on Discord and give me a showcase, because I won't have enough time to do all of those at the same. So maybe somebody will do it before me. I would love to see how it turns out. So yeah, let's go to the next build. And for the last build idea, it's going to be based on Elemental Expression, which is a monk-specific ascendancy point, which grants you this skill. And then every time you do a melee critical hit, it will trigger the Elemental Expression. Now this skill got buffed a bit in this patch, but that's not the reason why I wanna try it. There is a new tech with the Whirling Slash where people stack a lot of attack speed, and it works the same way like Tempest Flurry. Every time you do attack, it moves your character a bit forward, and more attack speed you have, the faster it does it, so you can start moving really quickly through the map. It's literally like a movement. You don't need any movement speed on the boots, it's just because you attack so fast, and every time it pushes you forward, you're just moving so quick through the maps. Now the issue with this is it has no damage. Unless you exit the circle and let it explode, or use, you know, twisters with it, it's just not great. So I was like, how can I keep the mobility while also doing crazy amount of damage? And that's where Elemental Expression comes in. We scale attack speed and crit. Every time we do crit, we proc Elemental Expression. Like I said, Elemental Expression got buffed in terms of damage. And then there's a new unique called Array Buckler, which can go like +1, +2, +3 randomly on each of the elements. And then you can corrupt that +3 to go up to +4, and then you're pretty much getting +7 on this skill, because it has all of the tags. So if you just get a spear, let me show you for a second. So if you get just a spear which has +5 projectile skills, it's also a projectile, and +7 from this, you're already looking at level 32. You get +3 on the amulet, you can even get those lightning plus rings, you can get support gems, so reaching 40 is relatively easy on this if you want to. I'm just thinking it might be better to keep it like 36, 37 with other support gems. I'll, you know, play around with it and see how it works. But overall, I think it has a lot of potential, because you're gonna be super fast with the attack speed, zooming through the maps. Every time you hit something, you will crit, proc the Elemental Expression, which is going to be like level 35 plus, which is going to do crazy amounts of damage. And then, on top of it, you get Elemental Invocation, which also scales with all of the levels, and you can get so much increased energy gained. And then you can socket something like Comet into it for bossing and for the, what's it called, for some hard rares, right? If you run into a rare that it's not easy to kill, you just press this button once and like few comets fall down from the sky and kill it. So overall, I think this can be really good. It's just when you buy those like bucklers, try to get ones with +4 if you want to run Comet, because Comet is a cold skill. So even though it doesn't matter for the Elemental Expression, it scales with all. If you want to run Comet for bossing, on top of this, it's good to have +4 for cold skills. So yeah, I don't know, this just feels like it can be super strong with high investment. You just get enough attack speed to like move really quickly, you get like super high level Elemental Expression, maybe some cooldown reduction with Ingenuity support to make it like proc 5 times per second. I don't know, it just feels really strong. So let me know what you guys think, let me know which ones of those builds looks like the most promising one to you, and I'll start working on them when I have more time and hopefully put out full build guides. So I appreciate you guys watching. I do have a Discord server. If you have some cool ideas and you want to cook with me, come hop over and we'll figure it out. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.